Welcome to part 1 of my visual diary series that covers my trip to several islands in the South Pacific. This part will cover our time spent on Guadalcanal. I will give you brief facts about each of the locations mentioned, and I hope you enjoy. I visited the Solomons with Bryan Stefancyc of War Historian Battlefield Expeditions. He's visited Guadalcanal and other Pacific islands before. Bryan is a war historian, and both of us share an interest in World War II. I was fortunate to have been asked to come along with him, which I cherish as a totally unique and extraordinary experience. The Solomon Islands archipelago consists of 6 major islands and over 900 smaller islands lying to the northeast of Australia. Solomon Islands tourism is in its infancy. The number of tourists to the country is around 6,000 per year. The Solomon Islands are rough and undeveloped. Definitely not an easy or cheap travel destination, but it offers a wealth of rewarding travel experiences for venturous travelers. Honiara is the regional capital of Guadalcanal, as well as the Solomon Islands national capital. Today, Guadalcanal is home to the most historic sites, battlefields, and war relics of any Pacific island.
Somewhere in the South Pacific, a powerful task force of United States Marines begins offensive action to retake the strategic Solomon Islands. The enemy took to the hills in a hurry. An amphibian patrol bomber is first to land upon the enemy airfield as the United States flag is hoisted above the first territory to be retaken from the Japanese.
Lunga Point Airfield was the major objective of the Marine Corps amphibious landing at Beach Red on August 7, 1942. Once captured, the airfield was later named Henderson Field, in honor of Marine Corps Major Lofton Henderson. After World War II, the field was modernized and reopened in 1969 as Honiara International Airport. This is the main airport for travel to the Solomon Islands. Near the airport is Honiara Memorial Garden, which honors U.S. forces and their Pacific Islander allies. Located on a remote hilltop on the outskirts of town overlooking the suburbs of Honiara is the impressive Guadalcanal American Memorial. This informative and interesting memorial is maintained by the American Battle Monuments Commission, which maintains U.S. memorials and cemeteries in 15 different countries. The Japanese have constructed a peace memorial. It's a very peaceful place to visit. The memorial itself is very simple and plain with no decoration or words, except for an explanation of its purpose and meaning. We crossed the Enogai River by foot to reach a small village before heading to the Galloping Horse battlefield. The children were absolutely captivated with the drone, and I had a great time with them. The battlefield area that we were hiking towards was called the Galloping Horse because from the air, the terrain features resemble the shape of a galloping horse. Having failed to breach the American perimeter, weak with hunger and low on supplies, the Japanese fought a defensive battle here in January 1943. Bryan and I discovered and took a rest in some foxholes which overlooked the Enogai in a village area below the ridge. Littered around us were remains of sea ration tins, shell casings, stripper clips. Even portions of the barbed wire line are still intact. You could trip on it if you're not looking. Although it would have been easier to hike this area later in the day with slightly cooler weather, it was extraordinary nonetheless. There's an inland village established during the 1960s called Barana at the Gifu battle area. Here, there's a really nice collection of items found by local villagers. The museum itself is managed by Willie Bessie. It was pretty amazing to see what's been recovered by the locals. This area became the most strongly fortified Japanese position on Guadalcanal, nicknamed the Gifu after the Gifu prefecture in Japan by the Japanese. From December 1942 until January 1943, the U.S. Army attacked this strong point to eliminate the Japanese defenders. There are numerous places to see war relics on display. Located on the north coast of Guadalcanal is Vilu War Museum. This might be the biggest collection on the island. The museum features a collection of World War II relics, both U.S. and Japanese, which are arranged in an outdoor garden setting. On our drive back towards Honiara, we stopped to see the beached transport ship Kinugawa Maru, which was grounded and lost to U.S. air and artillery fire on 15 November 1942. This is now a really popular wreck diving attraction. We took a ride out to the eastern part of Guadalcanal to see Red Beach. This was the site of the initial Marine Corps landing on August 7, 1942. This was America's first major offensive action in World War II. Later, we stopped at an LVT Amtrak dump area at Tetra Beach. The numerous amphibious vehicles are nearly locked into place now, with tree roots crawling up and through the rusted remains. The owner of the property happens to be the grandson of Sir Jacob Vuza, and he was really happy to talk with us.
Here's the thing, I was looking at those notes.
Bryan and I met up with his friend and fellow historian Dave, who would take us around exploring Bloody Ridge and other locations nearby.
There's your foot track. Foot trail's right there.
The importance of the American defense of Edson's Ridge cannot be understated, as the proximity to Henderson Field reinforces the importance of the sacrifices made here. Japanese Major General Kawaguchi committed around 6,000 soldiers to conduct several nighttime frontal assaults on Edson's Ridge. U.S. defenses were underestimated by the Japanese. About 12,000 Americans repulsed the attack. Dave took us down into the jungle at the base of Hill 80 at Bloody Ridge to show us the location of John Basilone's machine gun position. This is where his actions earned him the Medal of Honor. One of the few traces of the battle left to this day is a line of American barbed wire, where the Marines had set up their defensive perimeter.
The bridge we'll cross today is roughly there.
When you put Bryan and Dave together, the amount of information about the military history of Guadalcanal they share is truly amazing. To have their insight and knowledge as we walked around the battlefield, trying to imagine the hellish struggle that had taken place here, really put things into perspective. We also explored the area around Coffin Corner, which was an October 1942 battle area that is located to the southwest of Bloody Ridge. Dave showed us the burial pits, where large numbers of Japanese had been buried after the brutal battle. Another area we visited was the site of the first major Japanese land offensive during the Guadalcanal campaign, the Battle of the Tenaru, also referred to as Alligator Creek. Colonel Achiki's unit conducted a nighttime frontal assault on Marine positions at Alligator Creek on the east side of the Lunga perimeter. Marine machine gun fire and canister rounds from the 37mm cannons killed most of the Japanese soldiers as they crossed over the sandbar. All but 128 of the original 917 of the Achiki Regiment's first element died. After Guadalcanal, Japan no longer had a reasonable chance of fighting an increasingly strong United States counteroffensive. I hope you enjoyed Part 1. Stay tuned for the rest of the series. Part 2 will cover our experiences on New Georgia, located in the western province of the Solomon Islands.